Hey guys, so another deck profile here. So I'll be going over my Burning Abyss deck. So this particular build is unique in a sense that it doesn't really let your opponent play because I main deck like a whole lot of fiends, so Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend. So the whole point of the deck is that you want to establish a decent board on your first turn with either a Dante and a Vanity's Fiend or Majesty's Fiend. So what that lets you do is you let your opponent waste resources on getting rid of the fiends, and then if they get rid of your other monsters, that's perfectly fine because this deck should be able to float and gather resources relatively easily. So you just want to be able to blow them out next turn after they waste their resources and just hopefully win from there. So I know with the new leaks of the new Gold series, they essentially just reprinted the whole deck for Burning Abyss. So this deck should definitely be a whole lot more cheaper, even though it already kind of is. So I just wanted to go over that. And yeah, so let's start the profile off with the main deck. So I'll start off with the one-ofs for the Burning Abyss monsters. So you obviously play one Graph. I mean, he's at 1, but that's perfectly fine because I think Seer's better. And then I only play one Virgil, so one Rubik is plenty enough, especially since we do still have access to 2 Seers. And then one Dragig. He comes in pretty clutch because while you for example, if you have like a Vanity's Fiend on board, you can still resolve effects, unlike if you had a Majesty's. And this comes in handy when you're just trying to gather resources. So this will let you like stack things like your one Graph, and it'll let you draw into it next turn. So that's good. And then one Libic helps with the floating. One Barbar because he burns and he honestly still wins you games. And then one Kegna who lets you throw a Fire Lake or the Traveler, and if Dante goes to the grave, you can get it back through that. And then the two ofs, only 2 Seers because he's at 2, and 2 Farfas. Farfas are still really viable in the sense that you can get rid of monsters, but of course he's just terrible against Cosmos, but he's still good. And then the only 3 of Burning Abyss monster you really run of is Skarm. And yeah, he's very strong when you resolve him because he lets you get into your one tour guide, because obviously she's at 1, or the Rhino. The Rhino is really good, and we recently just got that. And then now onto the non-Burning Abyss monsters. We run one tour guide. She's amazing, obviously, because she lets you go into an auto rank 3 right there. And then I only run one Fiendish Rhino Warrior only because you really want to stray away from having too many normal summons in the deck, because you do run the Fiends, and those can take up your normal summons. So you will really honestly brick if you run multiples of these, because if you have multiples of these and multiples of Fiends, you're not going to get anywhere. So just one of him. And in a sense, I honestly think this the tour guide and the Crane is better than the Rhino in this particular build because they get you another monster, while in this case the Rhino just serves as like a foolish burial, or just prevents your Burning Abyss monsters from dying, so you can just spam. I mean, obviously that's an amazing effect, but not specifically for this build. So there's that one Crane, and then of course the one big boss monster you always want to run, if you can, obviously, is BLS. He can win you games because of just how strong he is, even in today's meta. And then to accompany that, I have some light targets affect Veiler. Veiler's good because obviously Monarchs are a thing, and then if you can stop their plays, that's just good for you. And then that also applies to just other decks too. I mean, you can still Veiler things like Pepe and other decks. And then now onto the Fiends. I run 3 Vanity's Fiend. I think Vanity's is just better than Majesty's because that way your opponent just can't like special summon because that way your opponent just can't special summon, which is what the meta really just relies on. And then 2 Majesty's Fiend. And then another thing to just like mention is that Majesty's is light, so if you do mill him, it's perfectly fine because you can still use this as a light target for things like BLS and stuff, so that's not a problem. And now spells, that was just, yeah, now spells, because that was just the monsters. One Raigeki, and then I run one Allure. I think Allure is good because you run a lot of BA monsters, and you do have the Vanities Fiends, so if you have multiples of Vanities, just use this, and hopefully draw into other good cards that'll help you out. So essentially just helps you with bricking. And then one Foolish, obviously. And then a tech card I play is Monster Reincarnation. Monster Reincarnation is good because, again, if you have multiple Fiends in your deck, or just things you don't need, or if you just want to resolve like a BA effect, you can use this, ditch the card, and then pick something up from the grave, such as like a Tour Guide, for example, or a Rhino, or a Crane. Like all those cards are really powerful by themselves, so it's good to always get those from the grave. And then to accompany your Fiends, you have 3 Monarch Stormforce. These actually come in handy because, believe it or not, every time I have an opening hand, I usually do get this along with a Fiend, which is surprisingly very convenient. So yeah, these are good. And then from there, we jump onto the trap cards. We have one Solemn Warning because it's still very powerful. One Breakthrough because there is a chance you do mill your Veilers, and then all those are good for in the grave are just your BLS targets. So, but with this, you can still use its effect from the grave. And then one Torrential, one Fiend Griefing, and then one Skill Drain. Skill Drain is really strong because you can still do really simple plays like sitting on an Acid Golem on this and still win the game, just because people can't deal with the Skill Drain. And then as in for the BA traps, I run 2 Traveler and 1 Fire Lake. So if you guys aren't already aware, one of the strongest plays you can do in this deck is just have, I don't know, like 2 face-up BA monsters and these 2 set cards, and then you just fire like your opponent and then bring them back with the Traveler and just be able to go off from there. So obviously I just feel like the Traveler's better than Fire Lake just because it is like a Monster Reborn on steroids, and the reason I don't run Soul Chargers in this deck is because I do run 2 of these. So I don't know, I just really prefer Traveler over Fire Lake. Well, you can obviously side more, so you know. And then there you go, guys, that's the main deck. And now let's jump into the extra. So obviously you want to run 3 Dantes because that's your whole engine right there. 1 Virgil, like I mentioned earlier in the video, and then it's really important to resolve all of your Dante effects. So you have 3 Downer Magicians. You just put them on top of Dante whenever he runs out of material, and then you're good to go. And then 1 Alucard. So here, Alucard's kind of like an iffy thing now because of the release of this card, the Super Quantal Mech Beast Grand Pulse, because this card can in essence just replace Ghost Streak Alucard, because people have been saying that this is better, which in the case it can be, because on either player's turn you can pop spell or trap cards, which is really good, while Ghost Streak Alucard currently pop set cards, and that can only be done on your turn. So you know, obviously you can swap them out for this, but for now I still have Alucard in there. And the good thing is this thing has like a humongous booty of 2800, so you can definitely sit on this for a while. And then moving on, we have 1 Giga Brilliant, 1 Acid Golem, and then 1 Mesorhythm, only because you just want to resolve a BA effect rather than just like wait till the standby phase with Acid Golem. And then 1 Engineer and just go in the game, or going to time, I mean. And then 1 Wind Up Zen Mains, because sometimes you do need to pop stuff. And then Nightmare Shark still comes in clutch, especially with Barbard, to just deal in a lot of damage. And then Utopic Future can be really troll, but it does come in handy. I've been thinking of bumping it up to 2, but for now it's good at 1. And then yeah, so guys, this is just my little BA stun type deck. Let me know what you guys think. And with the release of the new BA card, what was her name? Beatrice. Yeah, I just think this deck's only gonna get better, and hopefully we can see the reemergence of BA. I mean, obviously we've been seeing him top from time to time, but I feel like a whole lot more players will be playing it competitively just because of the new Gold Series. And anyways, guys, thanks, and let me know what you think.